afternoon to our panel today. The United Nations declared the first week of October a mental health awareness week, and October generally is a mental health awareness month, and the mental health day is on October 10th. As the community show hosted by Center for Constitutional Governance and Civic Space TV, we wish to honor those days and also to increase on the awareness of mental health. And today, we choose the topic of mental health awareness in Uganda to continue this conversation, but also to ensure that Ugandans and many people are aware of their mental health. Now, the Ministry of Health, the World Health Organization, Lancet Laboratories have all put Uganda's mental health illness rate at between 32 to 35%. And some have reflected the numbers be between 14 million to around 15 million people in Uganda having some form of mental illness. That makes the situation dire. To have a conversation on this, not only a conversation, but action in this area of mental health. It's unfortunate that the issue of mental health is not given the attention it needs, particularly in Uganda. That is why we are having this conversation to increase the awareness and to also break the prejudices and barriers that hinder people from having a conversation about mental health, but also from people being aware of their mental health. To help me discuss this, I'm joined by a panel of experts in this area: Councillor Gladys, Ananura, Elwa, and Novatus, Nyemara. I'll ask all my dear conversationists to introduce themselves, beginning with Novatus, Gladys, and Albert in that order.
Thank you, the moderator. I'm glad to be here and participate in this conversation regarding mental health awareness in our communities in Uganda. My name is Novatus Nyemara. I'm a counseling psychologist and lecturer in the Department of Psychiatry, Faculty of Medicine, Mbarara University of Science and Technology. I'm also director of a CBO in Mbarara called Empowering Communities Partners. So I'm glad to be here and share my experiences and knowledge in regard to mental health promotion and mental illness prevention. Thank you, dear viewers.
Yes, good afternoon, Martin, and my fellow panelists. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I am called Gladys Ananura. I work with one of the universities in Uganda, and I am so passionate about the youth and anything to do with children and the youth. And I'm glad to be part of this panel that is addressing the mental health of our communities. Because when we talk about that part of health, it is not easily considered like every other part of health, but it is the most important. We've seen it affect our children, our youths, and if not addressed, we may end up having a nation without people that have a stable mind in future, because it is affecting us so much, even within the university. Thank you.
Good afternoon, panelists, and good afternoon, viewers. My name is Albert Elwa. I'm Executive Director of Focus on Recovery Uganda. Focus on Recovery Uganda is an organization that is basically into mental health with special focus on addictions, but we are also into, basically we're into prevention, treatment, and advocacy. I also happen to be a counseling psychologist. I'm an addiction professional and I'm a recovery coach as well. And then full disclosure, I have a lived experience with a mental illness, which is alcohol use disorder. Many people probably don't understand that addiction is a disease of the brain. So I'm glad to be here and share with you all. Thank you.
Very much, Albert. I don't know whether you are free with sharing your story, your personal story, as the start of this conversation. But if you're not, it's also okay. We could just go into the main discussion.
I don't mind sharing my story, but I think probably we could see how it fits into our topic for the day.
With time, okay.
But
okay, that's okay. Yes, I want to begin with you, Novatus. Please demystify for us. Tell us what mental health is.
Thank you, moderator, and dear viewers. When we talk of mental health, we are looking at the general well-being of an individual. The World Health Organization defines mental health as a state of well-being in which the individual is able to realize their own abilities and are able to handle or cope with the normal stresses of life, and also to achieve productive work, working productively and fruitfully, and also that the individual is able to contribute to their society or community. So mental health means wellness. Wellness in terms of physical wellness, social wellness, mental wellness, and all forms of wellness in regard to the life of an individual and the individual's contribution to society. That is my understanding of mental health. So when a person is mentally ill, it means that they themselves are not able to function properly at the cognitive, at the social, and at the physical level, all levels. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that definition. And that takes me to Gladys. Gladys is a lecturer and a counselor. If what Novatus has defined is what mental health is, then what is mental illness? Maybe it's what is the difference between mental health and mental illness?
Mental illness or mental ill health just does the opposite of that definition. Somebody is not able to function fully, cognitively, socially, and being able to do the day-to-day activities when they can't function properly and do their day-to-day activities, be able to wake up and realize they have something to do, have commitment to some level. When they find themselves neglected or neglecting themselves, they can't do the day-to-day activities. Then you get to know this person is not well. When they can't think properly, then you know they are not well. When they cannot behave in the expected manner in the community, then it means they are not functioning properly. That is what mental.
Yes, and sticking with you, you've given some of the manifestations of mental illness or mental ill health. Is it obvious? Is it obvious to see someone with a mental health issue?
To some extent, it is not that obvious because it takes a gradual process. It's not that everybody will begin to act unresponsibly or do things that are weird in a way at the start of it. They can all act normal until something escalates. Will be normal people until maybe the stresses of life have got to the peak and they force them to erupt into something that is to the extreme. Going back to what one of us talked about, Mr. Elwa, if you see someone who drinks, they will not all get affected by the drinking. It is about the capacity somebody can be able to handle. It's until they get deep into that drinking that it affects their mental wellness. But they will begin by acting normally until something escalates that kind of behavior and it becomes abnormal.
Thank you.
While to some others, it is easy to know that they are not well. They are not well. The people you see on the streets, whom we usually call mad, those ones you will see and know they are not well. The other people who have been diagnosed with some disorders, yes, you will see them being very depressed, like they are out of being social, they are into themselves too much, then you will be able to tell this person is not well. But it's not usually obvious. It's until something goes beyond the normal. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And it takes us to Albert. Albert, in Uganda, mental health has been, many people don't want to talk about mental health. It's one issue that, is always talked about. It's rare, and many times people have thought it's a Western kind of thinking, it's for the weak and things like that. Why do you think it is so that we never have conversations, or even, let alone people seeking help when they are having, or for us to seek help when you're having what our colleagues have described, some of the signs and symptoms, but even before having them, why shouldn't people go and check on their mental health quantina?
Thank you, Martin. Basically, it is changing though. We live in a society whereby for the longest time, we've not had enough access to, we've had limited access to information regarding mental health. So now, and also given our societal construct, we live in a society where people still have certain traditional belief systems, whereby anything that appears out of the ordinary, especially how some of these mental illnesses manifest, will probably be attributed to witchcraft. And then we also have the spiritual beliefs, whereby anything that seems abnormal is referred to the pastor for interpretation. You know, so that has also become a big problem, whereby societal beliefs limit their access, limit someone's I won't call it ability, but what should I say? It kind of hampers their search for information because they're already satisfied by that which they know. And then even those who have some information, it's actually a combination of both those who have information and those who don't know are also faced with a stigma, you know. Basically with stigma, we'll talk about, I'm basically talking about guilt and shame. What will people think about us as a family? If I go and disclose my problem, I'll be labeled as mad. You know, I'll be looked at as inadequate, as handicapped in this way. So we look at stigma, we look at societal beliefs, and then also, I would also like to say that there is limited political will, because in the past I've had the opportunity to interact with some people, especially in the topic of addiction or substance use disorders. And these are persons in positions of authority, but they attributed all this to personal choices, moral failings, you know. So I could say there is also limited political will. We are seeing it change with the tabling of the mental health bill recently in Parliament. It's changing, but not at the rate it should be, given the escalating cases of mental health in this country. So, and also our education system. You see, our curriculum, someone told me it's being changed. I'm not sure about that, but there's very little to do with the mental health in our school curriculum. So even the graduates we are churning out, unless they do courses that are directly related to mental health, have very limited to no knowledge about mental health, you know. So I think there are various factors. There are various factors, and also to those that are exposed and also probably know that they should seek mental health services. Some people fear to come out because, save for Butabika, which has a limited capacity, private institutions or private treatment facilities are expensive. So somebody would, if they don't have access to Butabika, which I'm also told is overflowingly full, someone will not come out with their problem because of the financial challenges. Basically, that's my take. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And it of course it's no secret that focus on mental health on the side of the government is so marginal that less than 1% of the health budget goes into mental health. You know, it's yet many people are affected, and it's unfortunate. But also this characterization of people who suffer mental health hiccups, mental health challenges, there is a lot of characterization, and I'll give you some names. Some of them actually in laws that are still on the books in Uganda, the Penal Code, and there are very many other, I think, Prisons Act, and there are also very many other laws that in essence criminalize mental health illness. Words such as idiots, imbeciles are in the laws in Uganda, and also in this to refer to people, you can imagine. And the way society also looks at people and characterizes people who have mental health issues as lunatics, crazy, as mad, someone has said bewitched, and all that does not make the situation any simpler for people who suffer mental health issues, But in any case, all of us are candidates for some form of mental illness, as the statistics have shown. So I want to come to you, Rose Kyarimpa, and you are a counselor. And to further the conversation of Albert, why do we still find it difficult to seek help when we have mental health issues? But not only when we have, to also just check on ourselves. Why is it that it's still very, very, very hard? And also, where is the place of children in this that suffer, some form of mental health challenge? Yes, this same question can go to you, Novatus. Why is it so difficult for us to seek mental health assistance?
Thank you, the moderator. Yes, in addition to what Albert has said, there is a lot of stigma attached or surrounding the issue of mental illness and the mentally ill. When someone experiences challenges, they don't want to join in. They don't want to be seen, to be looked at as the ill, the mentally ill, because society looks at them negatively. In my experience and practice, I have found that some of these who are mentally ill do not want to even come to the ward, the psychiatry ward, because they don't want to be seen, because there is a lot of stigma placed on people who are mentally ill. Secondly, that thinking, that perception that mental illness is not curable, that even when they become ill, because they associate this with the supernatural powers, the spirits, the demons, they opt to go for prayers, they opt to go to the pastors and other religious leaders to enable them get cured. They don't seek health support from the hospitals because of the belief that mental health or mental illness rather is not curable. Others think it is contagious, that when they come to the ward, it can increase their illness. Others think it is hereditary. It is part of who I am because I've obtained these elements and the traces from my forefathers. So it becomes difficult for the sick to seek care and help from the hospitals. And another thing is that the society does not support this. Society thinks mental illness is mental illness. Someone is done. There is no remedy. They will live like this. So it's a question of ignorance about mental illness. It's a question of superstitions and beliefs and perceptions and even fear. There are those who fear drugs. They think that the mental illness drugs, the psychiatric drugs, are very dangerous. They kill, they make you a zombie, they make you zonto. So I would rather not go to psychiatry and not seek psychiatric management for fear of the disease itself, as well as the pharmacological management, which involves drugs, the drugs that are really bad and that drugs that kill. So that explains part of the reasons why people do not like seeking for mental support and redress in psychiatric hospitals.
Yes, thank you. And I mean, in fact, the extreme cases, you know, like as mentioned earlier, are the fewest. You know, many people think, oh, you know, mental health is all mental health issues or illness is manifest when someone is on the street or eating from garbage or running. But whereas those are the extremes, those are the fewest. You know, many mental, you know, illnesses manifest themselves in different ways, you know, in withdrawal, like earlier, you know, stated, people withdraw in disinterest, in, you know, all that. And those are the ones that give us such a big percentage, you know. So I think it's important that all of us check, you know, with ourselves and check to see how we are faring, because like I said, many of us are potential victims. I don't know whether it's still the case, but some few years ago, there was a high rise of, for instance, suicidal, suicide at universities. Makerere University used to register around 7 suicides per year, you know, and those are the ones that are documented. Others are not necessarily documented because students live in diverse places and it's hard to tell. And when you share stories or when you heard stories from friends, or they will tell you these are people who did not necessarily even show any kind of sign that they were suffering. Maybe they were happy before, they were going out with friends, but then later turned out that they were not, you know, turned out later that they took their own lives, you know. And so I want to, I don't know if Rose, you are ready to contribute. Are you? Otherwise, Gladys, how do we move from here? How do we how should we become more aware of our mental health? What are some of those, okay, yes, Rose, what are some of those things we should do to monitor our mental health, to be aware of, you know, where we stand when it comes to this mental possibilities of mental illness? How do we detect?
Thank you so much, Martin. I heard you talking about suicidal cases whereby someone can commit suicide without any signs and symptoms. Yes, it is true. Some of the indicators, someone may not show physical signs that the person is mentally ill, because mental illness have ranges of grades. There are some people who are mentally challenged with mild symptoms. There are those with severe symptoms, and there are those who are asymptomatic. I mean, they can't show any sign that they are mentally challenged. So that's why sometimes, as you said, someone may wake up and commit suicide, and you start wondering what happened. The person was smiling, the person was fine. I mean, he was not feeling sad or anything. So mental illness, sometimes, or mental challenges, sometimes we underrate them. Why? Because the awareness is still a bit lacking. Not every person who are mentally challenged is crying every day, or is sad, or is talking about suicide. I can be smiling and laughing with you, then from your side, you go and commit suicide. So some of the indicators that we need to notice is that maybe physical symptoms, which all of us can easily notice. When someone has been liking something and all of a sudden, the person is no longer interested in some things they used to do or they used to like. That is one of the indicators. Maybe also another physical symptom, which you can easily tell, a lack of sleep. When someone is finding it difficult to sleep, there could be something, maybe the mind is overwhelmed, or the person is overthinking, or there's something wrong with them mentally. Another symptom is when someone is always overreacting, easily irritable, or when someone has poor anger management. Something small, the person is reacting, overreacting, quarreling, and it is just something small. That is one of the indicators that there's something that is not okay. Another symptom is when someone, they have trouble with relationship, or they can't maintain the relationship, be it is marriage, or if it is dating. You find a guy is always like every month he's having a new girlfriend. So you wonder, you mean every girlfriend is having a problem, or every girl you date is bad or have bad manners, and you wonder. So some of these people, they can't easily maintain relationships, even family relationships, as also these other intimate relationships. If it is marriage, you find there's someone who's always changing wives every year. Every is marrying a new a new wife. And you wonder, so if it is a lady is always, for her, she is always telling you, this husband is bad, I'm getting another one, to over 10 husbands, and you wonder. So there could be a problem. So these are the things that people don't like pay attention to. And society sometimes don't mind much about it. So those are some of the indicators that there's something that is not okay with this person. Also, over drinking or use of drugs, and you find the person is always in the bar drinking, and they slide into addiction. So most of the time, people abuse drugs or drink alcohol as a way of coping mechanism to escape a certain psychological pain. For us who are already in the practice, we have been handling many people who are abusing drugs, who are drinking alcohol, not because they want to drink, but they are escaping a certain psychological problem. Let me give an example. There's a time we handled a young girl who was into drugs, but when you try to dig deep, this girl was battling with PTSD. She was repeatedly raped by a stepfather at a tender age. And she kept quiet about that issue, and it came later, hunting her down in her adulthood. So in a way of escaping that psychological pain or that trauma, she went into using drugs. And people are looking at drug abuse instead of digging deeper. What could have gone wrong in this child's life? So, so we need a lot of awareness to understand all these things. So also drug abuse or drinking too much is another sign of us that someone is not okay, that there's something wrong. And also I talked about poor anger management, lack of sleep, also lack of appetite or overeating. Someone could eat too much or eat less when they have psychological challenges, when they have a mental challenge. They use food as a coping mechanism. And someone can also lose appetite when they have a mental health issue. So those are the things. If the person is eating too much, there could be a problem. If the person is not eating or there's no appetite, there could be a problem. So we need to pay attention to some of these things, which we normally underrate. Yes, there are some severe symptoms where someone gets a mental breakdown, or when someone is always blacking out, or or fainting. There's a time I handled the case where this girl would faint every time. I think every week she could break out from nowhere in the class. She just faints. And they could ask themselves, what could be this strange disease? They took her in different hospitals. I mean, they consulted all the physicians and all the specialists, but they could not find any problem. So when they called me to intervene, I had to sit down with this young girl and dig deeper and find out, is there any psychological problem? So to my surprise, this girl was battling with a lot of issues, and the brain was overwhelmed at a certain point. And when the brain is overwhelmed, it shuts down, it protects itself. And in the process, the person faints or breaks out. So they could not understand that. So when the girl opened up to me, I had to understand the cause of why the girl was always fainting frequently. So these are some of the symptoms which sometimes we underrate or we don't pay attention to them. Being violent, you find someone at home is always violent, barking at children, barking at their wife, and you wonder what could have gone wrong. You find someone is barking at a baby of 1 year old, and the person is seriously quarreling with that small baby. That could be a problem. That person could be battling with trauma, and a resolved trauma, which caused them to displace anger to weaker objects. So those are some of the symptoms. So when you are talking about suicide, actually it is on high rise. So some people don't easily open up. I may come to you, Martin, I smile, I talk to you, we have a good conversation, but from your side, I go and commit suicide. So people don't easily open up. People don't easily tell what is hurting them. They choose to keep quiet. And some people choose to pretend, and some people choose to wear a smile that is not from within, because they don't want the society to judge them. Some people fear to talk about their challenges because they might be judged. Because someone may say that maybe you are pretending or maybe you have this problem. So people choose to keep quiet about what is hurting them. So that's why from nowhere, a person can just commit suicide. They are just escaping pain. I mean, they think that when I die, the pain will stop. Instead of sharing it to a friend who will take it to another friend, and when you share it to a relative, they will share it in a family group, or will share it with another relative, and the whole thing is there is no confidentiality, and people choose to keep quiet, and when it is too much, they take their lives. So that's why we still have a lot of a job to do to raise awareness, to tell people that it is okay to open up, it is okay to find someone, to confide in someone, it is okay to go to the hospital and seek for treatment or seek counseling or see a psychiatrist, or it is okay to walk into a mental health facility and ask about your health well-being. So we need to keep encouraging them and telling them and even sharing them where they can get these services. So that's what I can share for now, Mr. Martin. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to Albert, but as I go to Albert, I want Gladys maybe to paint for us a picture of the problem in terms of gender, age, the disparities, and maybe even communities. Who are the people who are most at risk? Who are the people that there is a record that these ones are the most at risk and they suffer the most? So it's in terms of gender, men or women, children, people in such jobs. But as yes, Gladys, you make that presentation after Albert has spoken. Now, Albert, to you, you've heard what the others have been saying, and as a community person, I say, you know what, I think I've reached a point where I need to seek help. I need to, I need to go and get help. Yeah. Do you in any way have stories or experience, or where you're like, no, this is the tipping point and I need to, or no need to even wait for tipping point?
Thank you,
When is it
Martin. About 2-3 years ago, I got a message on Facebook Messenger. There is someone that I had journeyed with probably like a year prior to that. So he sent me a message saying he's from Mbarara, but he was writing from Lira, and he says, Albert, I came this way alone for my first time. I took money from my mom, and I just came this side to end it all. So he had taken some money from his mother, traveled to Gulu, then from Gulu, he traveled to Lira, and basically the money was running out. And he said something about seeing the water at the falls made him think twice, and he was reaching out to me as one last attempt at saving himself. So I told him, you know what, do you have enough money to get back on the bus? He didn't have enough. I sent him money immediately. I told him, get on a bus, make sure you're in Kampala in the morning, come and we talk. And luckily, he listened to me. He came to Kampala, we discussed, and I checked him into treatment. He was battling gambling problem and also one of marijuana. He had previously drunk his tuition and things like that. So basically, what am I trying to say? Tipping points can be obvious, and sometimes and many times they're also not obvious. But any threat to commit suicide is not idle. Any threat to commit suicide is not idle. Some of the signs and symptoms that Rose shared are part of them. But if you see somebody just withdrawing all of a sudden from what used to be their normal activities, those are also signs. Some people just begin to vocalize this. I'll miss you people, or someone can just write on their page on Facebook anywhere, you'll never see me again, or life is worthless, So it's incumbent upon us to read. So a tipping point is not necessarily obvious. Other people you can see someone just begins distributing their property, clothes, saying bye to friends, out of the blues, weird behavior. Then you should know that this person is basically battling with something. Yeah. Then yes, we've had quite a number of in our treatment center. We've dealt severally with people who are battling suicidal ideations. It's a terrible one. It's a terrible one. Like I said, many of the cases are not obvious. You can't tell, but one of the most common signs of someone harboring suicidal ideations is depression. Someone being withdrawn also, they keep to themselves, they seem uninterested in normal routine, then there's a problem. And also, like Rose said, some of these mental illnesses, somebody has a mental illness, never take it for granted, always check out for suicidal ideations. So if you're looking for a tipping point, most of them are not obvious. The fact that someone is mentally unwell should sound as a tipping point.
Okay,
for us
thank you.
least.
And yes, and also want to ask you, how available are facilities where people can seek help? In your opening statements, you made mention of Butabika Hospital. Of course, everyone's mind, whenever someone talks about mental health, issues, people think about Butabika, and obviously there is a lot of bias, prejudice when it comes to that place. One, because it's a government facility, but also two, because its carrying capacity reached its limit, honestly, very many years ago. And it has always been associated with negativity. So many people tend to not want to reach out because they think they'll be sent to Tabika, but also the statistics are not any better. We have about 53 specialists in I think psychiatrists. I don't know if I'm mentioning the word well, but yeah, and we have about 45 million Ugandans, and the ratio has been put one psychiatrist to 1 million people. So definitely there is a problem when it comes to seeking for help. And I mean, in all these hospitals and all that, many health professionals are not even given training on mental health during their rounds, their internship rounds, and all that. So they may not necessarily also know who to refer where and when. So there is still a lot of quote unquote ignorance in that area. So, and I'm asking you, and any person is free to respond to that, how available are the facilities? Yeah, over to you, Albert. How available are these facilities?
Okay.
Then we shall go to Gladys.
There in Kampala and Wakiso, there are several private facilities, so people can get help. I mean, there's Tranquil Homes, African Retreat Center, Safe Places. There are many, Hope and Beyond, Focus on Recovery. So in Kampala and Wakiso, there are many. Problem probably is affordability, because it's hard to, treatment is expensive, both for the service provider and the service recipient. And when you're talking, and when it comes to the national outlook, of course, that is where the problem is. The vast majority of people who need this help, number one, cannot afford the private health facilities, and number two, the regional hospitals with mental health departments also have a limited capacity to handle the numbers. So yes, there are also few psychiatrists in the country, but there are many psychologists, because there's a difference between one having a psychiatric problem and one having a psychological problem. In terms of psychologists, the enough universities churning out psychologists, Uganda Christian University, University of Kisubi, Kyambogo, Makerere. So there are enough psychologists. Psychiatrists are few. There are also several psychiatric clinical officers. So yes, we need more. We need more in terms of psychiatrists, but also I think as a starting point, the number of psychologists, counselors, PCOs in this country. If we had a good placement strategy and a way of accommodating them in terms of employment, we would have dealt a great blow to the cancer of mental illness. So the national outlook is not good in terms of treatment availability. Kampala and Wakiso, there's treatment, but it's mainly private.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Now, over to you, Gladys. What are some of those outstanding, differences, outstanding disparities, gender, age, region, ethnicity, race, when it comes to this cancer of mental illness?
Thank you very much. I would say that when it comes to mental illness, it will not look at where you are, whom you are, where you're from. It just attacks anybody. It can attack anyone. But what escalates it is, if somebody has lived in a place of war, in a traumatic zone, then it could escalate that. Like, for example, the northern region that has gone through very many things to do with war, Konyi's war, lack of food. They have had so much of instability, political instability, and physical instability, the climate instability, like the people in Mbarara have been having a lot of mudslides, and Kasese, Bundubujo, all those regions can easily have high attacks of mental ill health because of what they have experienced. For the thing to do with the numbers, it is most common in females, because I think maybe because we multitask a lot, we have very many things you think about. You're thinking about your job, you're thinking about your marriage, you're thinking about why am I not even married, you're thinking about the day-to-day activities. People look up to you to be a mother to them even when you're still young. So with ladies or females, it's so high. And for men, it is still there, but it is not statistically, they don't come out. Men usually don't share. Men usually want to be seen as the firm ones, as the strong ones. That's why we see many more numbers in females than men, because females will talk, they will want to share, they easily share their issues. You've seen them on statuses of WhatsApp, whatever happens, they will drop it there, and you will know what is happening in their lives. But for men, they will die silently because they are the strongest gender. And according to the statistics that I have seen over the globe from National Institute of Health, American Psychological Association, it usually affects people from age 18, 25 and above, but from 18, children of that age are more susceptible to having mental illness, although now we are beginning to see it in the lower ages of 14, 15, just because of what children have gone through with COVID-19 and lack of money, resources in their families. Some of them have dropped out of school. They don't see a future. They don't have hopes for anything. And so this has escalated to even to the lower ages, the age brackets that never used to suffer from mental illness. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, men don't seek help because of this toxic masculinity, this idolization, wrongful idolization of maleness or manhood, to seem that a man is mighty, a man can handle it all, and then men end up not checking in for help because we think we have it sorted, and it's not the case. Men suffer a lot. Men end up actually being even depressed. There are more men who have slumped into alcoholism, into drug abuse, into actually being abusive to their partners, just because they cannot seek help. And I think it's important that we demystify the maleness, that kind of, stereotypical way of looking at a man as someone who is mighty and can handle it all. Yet, in a sense, we are also vulnerable as men. I think it's important that we accept vulnerability as men. Yes, I want to come to you, Novatus. So we've talked about health facilities and where people should go and all that. We want to go to the part of integration, being reintegrated into society, into community. But as you prepare for that, reflecting on what Gladys has said about the ages, people who are young adults, and people maybe in their mid-20s, suffering a lot of mental, health issues because of, the many challenges. It's actually really common, and what she says makes quite a lot of interesting, gives us a lot of interesting insights. And this is a time where many young people are trying to figure out things. So I'm wondering where the place of family is, and Gladys, you can respond to that later as we conclude. I'm wondering where the place of family is, because many young people have live with their families and all that, but then families have also become a source of instability when it comes to someone's mental health. Pressures from school, pressures from peers, all those people, those have led people into depression. How can we be, actually, Novatus will also respond, then we shall also enter into integration. How can we be better people as family members, to let people open up to us without judgment, without, if maybe they are different, without converting them, because it has been proven that the idea of converting someone, not even the idea, the concept or the practice of trying to convert someone to be what parents want them to be, has led to more depression and actually a lot of fatalities. So how do we become better family members and better community members to accept and let people open up to us, but also to accept back as communities, as families, to have the people who have suffered, to have them reintegrated into society? Over to you, Novatus. I don't know if the question is clear, because a lot of,
I'll do my best. Thank you, Martin. A family is meant to be a haven of hope, peace, and tranquility for the individual members in the family, as well as the group members in that family setup. Many a time, we find something getting wrong at the family level, and this precipitates mental health challenges for the individual members of the family. You will note that what goes on in the family is meant to be to offer an environment in which each and everyone lives in harmony with each other. But in reality, this is not always the case. we are saying our family systems and functioning must improve for the individual members to function very, very well. What is it that is needed for better family functioning? We are talking about the degree of closeness at the family level and openness. Members of the family are meant to open up for the needs of each and every member in the family. That element of intimacy that is expected to be shared, because where intimate relationships are lacking, talk about closeness. If the members are not close to each other, they are not open to each other, then it becomes a problem. When it comes to sharing, like a child wants to share what is at their heart, it becomes difficult when the family hasn't provided enough avenue for the sharing to take place. So the child, for instance, will die with the problem to the point of developing mental health issues at the end. So we are saying the family should be a family. Family should provide an environment for sharing of issues, an environment of communicating properly, an environment of social support, being close, emotionally present to the members of the family. Because where the emotional presence is lacking, then mental health issues will come up. Now, when a family improves, sooner or later the community will also improve. What we are suggesting for the integration of the family and community and mental health issues and wellness is, one, to increase awareness at the community level. Awareness of the mental health conditions. This is exactly what we are doing, and I give accolades to this center that has invited us for this. We need to increase awareness about mental health conditions, awareness about the reality of mental illness, so as to remove the stigma that people attach to mental illness. We have to encourage the mentally ill to speak freely about their conditions. And this has to begin from the family level. Family members have to look at mental illness as a normal occurrence, and this will translate to a community level. As we provide awareness, we give advice, we give information, we give support. Support is very, very necessary, especially support to break the barriers that work, that prevent, that stand in the way of improvement of mental health issues. Now, there are so many things that are at play that would need to put into consideration to be able to achieve all this. At the family level, there is need to improve and promote life skills development. People fail to handle their mental issues because they do not have the skills. People have poor interpersonal relations at the family level and in community level. There is poor parenting and poor parenting styles at the family level. So this is sometimes what we call the primordial management. Problem-solving problems are lacking, rather problem-solving skills are lacking at the individual level. We need to promote this. And of course, we need to do risk identification, mitigation, to say the least. There are children who are at risk. There are family members who are at risk. There are community members who are at risk. We need to identify this. We identify those who are at risk and refer them for care. You know, there is care at those local levels, even health center too. The referral systems are very clear. Health center 4, we need to refer those who are at risk for mental health care. And also improving the social environment. Of course, that collaboration that we need for members to work together at at the community level, and also early diagnosis and treatment. The messages we give to the community members should be tailored at getting them to appreciate that treatment is the way to go, and in which case treatment we are talking about medication. They need to accept the drugs and get used to them. We are talking about psychotherapy, visiting the counselors and psychologists. That is the level of integration we are talking about, that when we come to treatment, they take the medicine, they go for therapy, they go for counseling, and so on and so forth. So when this is appreciated and adopted, we believe we are going to integrate the healthcare systems for the sake of improving mental health illnesses and mental illnesses generally. This is my take. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, thank you very much. And yeah, that same question goes to you, Rose. Yeah, what is the place of family in this?
Yes, Martin. Sorry, can you repeat for me the question a bit again?
What is the place of family? We've heard from the statistics that many young people, young adults, late teenagers, young adults, middle-aged young people in their mid-20s experience serious issues of mental illness. And we know many of them are in families, and and many are actually pushed to that tipping edge from their surrounding schools and families, because these are the places where they are most of the time. And also many other people who have mental health issues. It has been proven that many times families at play. So how can we become, as family members, as friends, how can we ensure a safe place so that people do not go to the tipping edge?
Yes, thank you so much.
How can they be reintegrated in our community?
Yeah, thank you so much, Martin. Yes, the family plays a very big role towards someone's mental well-being. So because the family is our first support system, I mean, is the place where we are supported and we understood and everything. But sometimes our families have contributed towards our mental challenges because of the cultural beliefs and faulty beliefs and norms. So sometimes our parents may not understand that a certain culture may affect someone's mental health. Let me give an example. I have ever handled a case where the family members were forcing 14-year-old girl to get married to a guy of 40 years. So you can imagine. So this girl attempted suicide actually. Of course, she was not in love with that guy. I think the family was just after money. So the whole thing traumatized the young girl. Imagine a 14-year-old girl, and they wanted, I think, money from this old man. So sometimes our families in our communities have contributed towards our mental health challenges. But how can a family function? How can a family come back on board, support someone with mental health challenges? Families also, they need psychoeducation, especially those who may not understand what to do, especially those who have someone already battling with mental health issues. And sometimes they don't know how they can go about it. Let me give an example: a recovering addict, someone who's been battling with addiction. The family look at that person as a failure, as a scapegoat, someone who's always disturbing the family, someone with bad behaviors, someone who don't know what to do, someone who don't know what he or she wants. So if that person is supported well from the family, the person can recover fully from addiction. We have helped them. But when they go back to the family is still looking at the person, is still looking at the old person before the rehabilitation. But if the family gets some good psychoeducation or good counseling, they can support these recovering addicts and they become well. They become functioning again. Yes, there are some good families which easily support someone who's battling with mental health challenges. They support the person and the person comes out from the challenge and function again and be happy again and everything. So I'm trying to say that a family plays a very, very big role towards someone's mental health well-being. And it's us professionals to come out and raise a lot of awareness, even in our families, how to help someone battling with mental health challenges. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And over to you, Gladys.
Thank you very much to Rose and the first person who submitted their view. I will just add my voice to what they've said. They've almost covered it all. But dealing with students, you discover so much that happens in families and where the heads of families don't even know what is going on. You find that these students or these young adults were introduced to certain behaviors that led them to have a psychological problem where the parents did not get to know. So parenting is one of the things that is very key in mental health, having a stable mental health in families and homes or as well as communities, because the way the child is parented will affect their mental health, like Rose said, where you find that children are not equipped with skills, children are not valued in family, they can never air out their views. It's a do or die issue in their family. They are not listened to. If they are commanded to, they will have to do. So when they come out into society, they don't know how to argue out their views or speak up where they will need clarification, because in their homes, they were taught when an old person speaks, you don't respond to them, you don't look at them. So they come out in the public, even in their offices, even at school, they get challenged because of the way they were brought up. Secondly, like Rose said, we need to do more of awareness. When these people fall sick, when our young adults fall sick and adolescents, their parents or family members come in to judge them for who they are. So they stigmatize them the more. You tell a parent, you see your child is having a behavioral problem, and I think we need to talk. And they're like, I don't want to discuss those things. It's them that chose the life they took. If they are addicts, if they are using alcohol, even at the point of using before they become addicts, the parent does not want to get involved. So parental involvement in caring for the children, in looking after them, in following them up in school, can also be of help to these children as they grow, and also providing the basic needs to these young adults is very important. Some parents think because the child has grown, they are 18, they are at the university, you are at your own. All needs are not met, and so the child will end up in these behavior challenges as they try to make ends meet. They will end up in gambling because they want to use the little they have to earn more, because they are told, I've given you school fees, that's what matters. These are not the days that were before, where children would be satisfied with what they have been given. They will want to compete with colleagues. If a colleague comes to school with all that it takes, they want it. A smartphone is needed, a good cloth is needed, a good hairstyle is needed. So they will look out for how can we meet it, and they will get into behavioral challenges. So society needs to come on board, get out things to do with stigma and shame, and address them fully so that they can be able to support their own heal. other than the child coming back to you challenged and you push them off completely.
Thank you very much. And, to you, Albert.
Thank
You also said
you.
you deal with recovery and reintegration.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. Novatus, Rose, and Gladys have basically said it all. Maybe just to add my voice, I would just say that family members need to be patient. They need to listen attentively and basically be caring. And then they should also educate themselves more about mental health conditions and their manifestations. That puts them in a better position to help the members that are struggling, and also be able to anticipate potential barriers to a person seeking help, especially given that what we discussed earlier, stigma and all that. So they can find out about local resources that can be able to help their loved ones. And also, importantly, family members should also seek help for themselves, because caring for a loved one battling these mental health conditions often takes a huge toll on the mental state of family members. So family members should also seek help for themselves. And in doing that, they will be able to understand these conditions better, understand themselves better, understand the person suffering better, and then help the person better. And finally, they should commit to being there for the long run, because certain mental illnesses are chronic. You commit, and when you abandon people who are battling along the way, this just aggravates the illness. Yeah, basically that is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our dear conversationists. We have reached the end of the show. Thank you for being part of it, for sharing. I'll give each one strictly 1 minute to just give their parting shots, that one advice or one statement you feel shouldn't be left unsaid. And I'll begin with you, Albert.
Yeah, I will say each and everyone should take care of their mental health like they do take care of their physical health, because mental health is central to overall health. And as a country, we can start basically from making sure that everybody at least has access to good nutrition, basic education, and healthcare. And also, on a personal note, if you need services for mental health challenges and addiction, you can find us at Focus on Recovery Uganda. We are at Kajansi, Bwebaja, and Bina in Mutungo. On Facebook, it's Recovery Uganda. In Twitter, you can check for Tranquil Homes. Thank you.
Thank you. That is Albert from Focus Recovery Uganda, or Recovery Uganda. In 1 minute.
I would like to say, dear viewers, that mental health and mental illness are pertinent, very important in our lives, because mental health is key to our general functioning. Once it is attended to, the other areas of our functioning will be cleared. So I would call upon everyone to take mental health issues very prominent and pertinent, and also at an individual level, try as much as possible to increase awareness of our communities in as far as mental illness is, in regard to mental illness. Because mental illness is real, people have just sat on it. We need to increase awareness such that people get to know that it's real, and they need to come in time to the health units to be able to manage it properly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And over to you, Gladys.
Our afternoon viewers, one thing that we would want to tell to the world is that these people need love, they need care, and they need support, just like every human being. Let's love them, let's care for them, let's support them to recover. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rose.
Thank you so much, Martin. My last word is that mental health is important as our physical health. The more we pay attention to our physical health, we should use the same energy to pay attention to our mental health. Otherwise, every life matters. I'm Rose from Buhumuriro Counseling Center, which is located in Mbarara, Kachika, Kachenche. We offer all types of counseling services for free. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And like Albert said, we should treat mental health the way we treat general health. And we should also take care of it actually the way we take care of our general health, and even much more, because that happens, the mind has the possibility of affecting the entire body. And that's a good way to end this. And nutrition is also important. The issue of mental health is also close to my heart, because I have had a classmate who took her life. And perhaps if we were more supportive as friends, as family, or perhaps if there was more awareness on this, she wouldn't have ended her life. So for me, it's also close to my heart. And many of us have someone who has had issues with mental health, or even ourselves. So it's important that we give it the attention it deserves. It's important that we are empathetic towards people who experience some form of mental health illness or mental health hiccups, because we are all victims of mental illness. We should extend love, we should extend compassion, we should extend empathy, and we should be a safe space for each one of us, so that we do not slump into depression, so that we don't slump into other forms of mental illness. I've been your host, Alex Martin Musiime, on behalf of the Center for Constitutional Governance and Civic Space TV that do put together this community show. Thank you to our conversationists. Thank you to our viewers, and have a great afternoon and great week. See you next time.